Return to Castle Wolfenstein is easily one of my favorite games. Its combat is quick and satisfying, the story is engaging and rewarding, and its replayability cannot be denied. I should know, I revisit the game every year, sometimes multiple times in a year, and always come away with a massive smile on my face. RTCW was developed by Grey Matter, formerly Xantrix Entertainment, who are best known for making Redneck Rampage, which is definitely a game. With Wolfenstein though, Drew Markham and crew pulled their socks up and spat out what I consider to be one of the best shooters ever made. The weapons feel great to use, the story unfolds like an action-packed spy thriller with a judicious sprinkling of occult science fiction, and the bad guys. Ooh, the bad guys. Creeping undead, leaping necroborgs, saucy leather-clad roly-poly nutsets, and an entire schutzstaffel of goose-stepping geeks to barbecue bullet ties and brutally backstab. The following information is primarily drawn from the hardest difficulty, I Am Death Incarnate, and is focused on the PC release. Now let's lay these baddies on the proverbial dungeon slab and cut them from NASA to navel. Let's dive in. These guys are at the very bottom of the Nazi food chain, and as such they are weak as piss and pose as much threat as a strudel what's been stepped on. Filling a variety of largely non-threatening roles in the world of RTCW, workers will be seen buzzing around bases and laboratories in the guise of engineers or scientists. These busy bees aren't very brave, and if they're isolated they'll often cower in abject terror upon seeing a giant slice of all-American beef, shivering and trying to make themselves look as unobtrusive as possible. This, of course, will make your trigger finger itch instantly, so the joke's on them. If there are soldiers nearby, or if they're in a pack, they'll manage to locate some balls inside their lab coats and they'll pew-pew at you with a Luger, doing negligible damage. Don't waste any exotic ammo on these geeks. Instead, sneak up on them and backstab them, delivering a killing blow. You get to try this out in the very first level where evil Dr. Z has just killed Agent 1, mumbling to himself at the sink, and unless you bumble around, he won't notice you sneaking up. This is the general state of being for most workers. They're being driven so roughly by those above them that their minds are always on their work, fully absorbed in their tasks, shiv their weak asses and keep trucking. An interesting thing that crops up from these guys, and is true of most enemies, is that they get progressively stronger the deeper you get into the game. At the very beginning they only have 10 health, but at their toughest they get upgraded to 30 health. This tripling of their HP is not a huge difference, and you're more likely to notice it with other Third Reich thick boys like soldiers, elite guards, and blackguards. But it's a cool way of balancing the player's enhanced arsenal and improved skills in-game. Oh, speaking of which, difficulties. Apparently the difficulty settings don't change HP or damage output of enemies. It just changes the amount of health and ammo you get from pickups, and according to some on the internet, how much enemies get staggered from taking damage and their reaction rate to the player. I've only ever played on hard, but I can imagine this being the case, despite the wiki saying differently. The chunky meat and potatoes of the Nazi war machine, soldiers are the most common enemies you'll face in Return to Castle Wolfenstein. They'll crop up in a variety of different disguises and wielding a bunch of different weapons. And quite often you'll be fighting an aggressive soldier with an MP40 while another one tries to snipe you with a Mauser from afar. Let's consider the different groups these guys belong to and what it all means. Your average starting soldier are the Wehrmacht. They have 20 health and wield MP40s, Lugers, and Mausers. Easy peasy, no sweat. Some Wehrmacht soldiers are scripted to throw grenades at you from towers, which is pretty awesome, but it's even more awesome if you blow them up first. Next level up are the Panzer Grenadiers. These guys are totin' Panzerfausts. Grenadiers are tougher with 60 HP, and that one in Mission 3 Part 4 is truly obnoxious if you're not expecting him. These lads will randomly pop up from the mid-game onwards. The final spot on the soldier podium is taken up by the fearsome Waffen SS, the crack troops of the fatherland. And crack is an appropriate word, as these guys are probably chewing down endless supplies of pervitin because they can be totally ruthless. You can empty a stream of bullets into them and they'll reply in kind with unerring accuracy. Like the Panzer Grenadiers, they also have 60 HP and will greet you with open arms in the late game. They sport the same weapons as the Wehrmacht, but seem to be insanely good at hitting you, even from far away with an MP40. If they're carrying a Mauser, with or without scope, they're almost certainly going to draw a bead on you. SS will occasionally also have Stens like the Elite Guard, which is a massive pain in the ass. Creep around corners, use cover wisely, or you'll pick up more than a few stray bullets. Now, taking these guys down. Just like the rainbow of nastiness that these guys come in, the methods for their deletion are also many and varied depending on what weapons you have, what cover you have, and how evil you feel like being. A lot of this can also carry over to other soldiery dudes, so keep it all at the back of your mind as we progress. Backstabbing is good, but most situations won't allow for this type of kill outside of stealth missions. When you get the Sten, a few quick taps to the head will make their helmets shoot off, which is very funny, and will result in an instant death if your shot is true. This works with any gun, but the Sten won't give you away. Good practice for when you are stealthing it up. Work on your headshots and the Nazi goose is cooked. Speaking of cooked, if you have the fuel, you have to try the flamethrower. Spray out one quick squirt in their face, take cover, wait 1 second, and then listen to them give hilarious screams. However, you may want to save your Bernie juice for the undead. The Mauser rifle is great for sniping them. Once you acquire the sniper scope, it replaces the regular Mauser and it deals more than double damage if you zoom in, regardless of where you hit the enemy. 55 damage versus 20. This is awesome for taking down low-level bad guys if you're able to establish a standing position to maintain your accuracy. And of course, the snooper rifle is a delicious one-hit kill. When you get this gun in the forest mission, it's so damn cool. But I usually like to save this gun for blackguards as it takes them down nice and quick. The Panzerfaust is of course yummy, but it's a bit overkill unless you're popping a whole group of Jerrys. I strongly urge you to practice with using grenades. Much like the dynamite in Blood, which has a visual fuse that loads up, the grenades throb when you hold them, growing ever more tumescent to show you how long you have left until it blows your hands off. Learn how to angle your throws, appreciate BJ's tossing limit, and try to bounce them against walls. Practice makes perfect. Basically, the means of takedown is situationally dependent, but a guaranteed method of satisfying smurder is the FG-42 paratrooper rifle. Excellent stopping power, ammo is fairly abundant, and its whip-crack firing sound will bring a tear to your ear. Soldiers will also be seen sitting in machine gun nests, wrapping their fingers around an MG42. Sniping these guys is recommended. Once you snuggle into the nest yourself, you'll fully appreciate why they were there in the first place. Nice. Officers might seem puny and very squishy when initially encountered with a measly 20 HP, but like soldiers, this rises to 60 HP later in the game. Though they utilize Lugers most of the time, they're highly accurate and they'll give you a few air holes if you piss fart around too much. Officers faced in the level The Dig are armed with MP40s, which might make you give a derisive snort, but their accuracy can easily drain your health, especially if they leap out at you, catching you unawares. I really like how officers are firmly integrated into the objectives of certain missions, especially in Paderborn Village, where you need to assassinate a whole bunch of them before they go to a spooky soiree at the old chateau with sassy Mariana Blavatsky. SS officers, the ones in the charcoal uniforms, are more accurate than the lighter-coloured Wehrmacht guys. Both can pin you down unpleasantly unless you shank them first. Backstab, bulletize, snipe, flambe, the choice is yours. I always just call these guys paratroopers, but apparently their official name is Blackguards. These Fallschirmjägers make a stunning entrance into the game in the airbase level, when they drop out of the sky in parachutes when you're trying to nick the Cobra plane. In this specific situation, you can easily puncture their chutes with a single rifle shot, making them fall to their deaths regardless of how close they are to the ground. Reducing their numbers can make the ensuing engagement easier to deal with, as once they land, they'll pitter-patter their way through the complex to say hi. Blackguards have a ton of health, and their FG-42s are terrifyingly accurate and oh so painful. The upside of facing these lads is that you'll also have an FG-42 to call your own. Very nice. You'll sometimes see blackguards toting venom guns, and that's pretty terrifying if you're not expecting it. However, just like you, they have to reload their weapons, unlike the venom gun soldiers who can lay out constant fire seemingly forever. If you try and headshot these guys, it won't result in an instant kill. Rather, their helmet will fly off and you'll do double damage. But with their helmets removed, your follow-up headshot will wipe them out. I really like how this differs from previously faced soldiers. If a blackguard doesn't have a helmet naturally, the same headshot resistance will still occur. Your first hit will do double damage but not kill them, but your second headshot will. These tough cookies. Spitting back shots from the FG-42 is recommended, as is sending out a flaming ejaculation or spitting out a shot from the snooper rifle. They might be headshot resistant, but OSA magic bullets and fire will put them down nice and quick. So reserve ammo from both weapons for these guys in particular. Guards are absolute bastards in the second last level when you return to Castle Wolfenstein, even with your accumulated knowledge and beastly arsenal. Look sharp.
Move it, Zem! Your orders, mein Oberführer. Deploy the remaining elite guard. Jawohl!
Now, I don't want to say that someone was on the horn when they designed the elite guards, but, well, let me just say, I don't think skin-tight leather and high heels were army regulation in WW2. I could be wrong. I could be wrong. Possibly. Like soldiers, elite guards come in a surprisingly wide variety of guises, giving a greater depth of believability to the game, rather than just serving up clones. Helga's evil posse of acrobatic stiletto-wearing, sten-firing ladies will make your life an absolute misery in the early game, and then they'll make your life an absolute misery in the late game when they return with a vengeance. First encountered in the Defiled Church, elite guards are lightning-quick assassinates who'll roll on the ground to avoid your fire, they'll drop grenades on your head when you're innocently trying to climb a ladder, and they'll suck the life out of you with a rapid burst from their stens. First, you'll hear the violent clip-clop of their shoes. Then, a muted spitting. And finally, the hiss of their gun barrels cooling as you lay on the floor, bleeding out. Fighting elite guards is a learning experience. By this I mean you'll learn where they've been placed and where they're lurking in any given level due to dying and reloading more times than you'll care to admit. Having played this game for 20 years, I have various Byzantine plans I put in motion for each encounter to ensure I bring them down with ruthless efficiency. But they aren't actually that tough. They've got 60 HP in the early game and 80 in the late game. And if you get good with the sten, you can follow their trajectory as they roll, tapping the mouse to whack them before they stand up and shoot. Their less than sensible footwear give away their position. So they can't exactly sneak up on you. But that doesn't mean there isn't another guard hiding behind a wall standing perfectly still waiting for you to poke your head out, because there is. Headshots are as effective on these ladies as any other unarmored human, but the trick is getting a steady aim while you're being jerked around by their silenced bullets. Though stens are their weapon of choice, elite guards will also be seen using Lugers, MP40s, and Mausers. In unhallowed ground, sniping gals will hide in trees to whack an unobservant player. And the least said about the ones that appear when you approach the MG42, the better. Like the Black Guards, the Snooper and Flamethrower are excellent choices to make when you hear the hollow clip-clop of doom approaching. These guys are cool. Faced first in Kugelstadt, Flamethrower soldiers are super tough, highly resistant to fire and the Snooper rifle, and they can shrug off a headshot with ease, processing them the same way as any other body shot. The Panzerfaust is a good weapon to use as flamies are slow-moving, but I pretty much just main the Paratrooper rifle. Keep your distance and fill them with lead until they keel over, leaving behind some flame fuel. I used to think that they exploded when killed, but I must have been thinking about Wolf 2009 instead. Do not get in range of their flames. They'll obscure your screen and drain your health in a matter of seconds. I feel like their flamethrower has greater range than our own, but that could be due to the perspective of seeing the flames shoot from someone else instead of myself. Kill them with all speed if you're on an escort mission or have friendly troops nearby, as they'll scorch poor little dumb NPCs who don't have your reflexes or presence of mind. One of the rarest regular enemies seen in the game, Venom gunners have the same build and overall appearance as flamethrower soldiers. Just like their doppelgangers, gunners are highly resistant to fire, headshots, and the snooper rifle. As previously mentioned, they don't need to reload, doling out a bit of doom chain gunner action when they spot ya. They might start firing from far away, which is incredibly inaccurate, but when they're within medium to close range, they'll chew you up like nothing else. Also, like flamethrowers, Venoms are priority targets. If they're in a group of other bros, target them first, as you might get pressed by other soldiers emerging from a metaphorical clown car to push you towards these mini-gunning freaks. Once again, the Paratrooper rifle is very reliable, and if you get one of these guys in your face, your own Venom gun is effective, but you'll still suck down more bullets than you'll care to. If they get lodged behind some sort of level obstruction like the car in Ice Station Norway, you might be able to toss a bunch of grenades to take them down, but FG-42 or Mauser are much more consistent. Nothing to see here. It's as quiet as the grave. The excavated crypts and dig sites of RTCW are crawling with hordes of the undead who are seriously miffed that their eternal slumber has been disturbed by the Nazis. There are two variants of shambling undead that appear in the game: the bog-standard zombie faced in the early game and ghouls faced in the late game. The everyday vanilla undead are shambling, rotting bros who'll burst forth from coffins, tombs, and the surrounding architecture to rip apart anyone who gets in their way, Nazis or BJ. At a distance, they'll do a little dance and summon up spirit skulls which will home in on the player. These projectiles can be popped if you gain distance and get them to hit a wall. Up close, the undead will give you an eye-watering biff on the hooter, which is actually really damaging. Note number 1, don't let them get close. If they pop out at you, try to gain distance and shove them back with a kick if you can. Note number 2, it takes a while for them to start summoning spirits, so start spitting sten shots at them as soon as you see them. It doesn't take many shots to kill the early variants, but make sure you destroy their corpse. Otherwise, they'll pop back up and will get right back to spooking you out. You'll know they're truly dead when they explode into dust and bones. Note number 3, like with all undead, the flamethrower's attack kicks huge quantities of anus. You won't have it when you face the game's first load of zombies, sure, but bear it in mind for later confrontations. Note number 4, they'll often be busy killing entombed Nazis who are feverishly trying to shoot them. Just let the two groups finish their scrap and then quickly mop up the survivors. Almost always, the undead will win. Note number 5, main the sten, aim for the head, and use grenades for groups. Faced in the penultimate level, ghouls are super tough, but otherwise act like lowly zombies. They've got glowing eyes and will cheerfully wipe out any Nazis nearby. A few squirts of the flamethrower will burn them up, or charge up the Tesla gun if there's more than one, as its wide arcs of electricity are really effective. Like the clip-clop of the elite guards, undead will make swishing sounds as they move due to their rotting bandages, making them easy to identify as they approach. Separate from the shambling undead, warriors squat behind their shields, which will reflect all bullets, though flamethrower, Tesla knife, and your kick will penetrate this protective barrier. Grenades are also effective if they explode behind the warrior where their shields can't protect them. But I just like to approach them, then jump back, baiting them into their attack sequence where they drop their shield and lunge at you. You can then just shoot them with the sten and they'll go down nice and quick. The flamethrower is easily the best weapon against them, as you can tag a whole group and they'll very quickly burn up. And the Tesla will zap a whole party of warriors in an exciting display. I usually don't use the Tesla very much except for the final boss, so you may as well get these shield boys riding the lightning. Thankfully, these dudes don't get back up after falling down, so you don't have to destroy their corpses. In the final level, Loopy Blavatsky turns 4 super soldiers into Dark Knights, which are slightly tougher than the entry-level undead warriors. This always puzzled me, as it's a huge downgrade from super soldiers to weak zombie boys, but she wasn't exactly in the best mind space at that moment in time. Treat them like normal undead warriors and keep your distance laying out flamethrower or Tesla. Big boss Heinrich will also summon some of these guys during his confrontation, but yeah, just zap them. You'll be fine. When I first encountered these incandescent idiots on my very first playthrough, I found them very scary indeed. I thought you absolutely had to use dynamite to blow them up, as they have a very deep health pool for early game weapons to deal with. You can do this, and I did for years, and that's possibly why dynamite's provided behind the crypt entrance at the end of the village level, I guess? But I've since found that you can just shoot them with the Sten or Mauser or Thompson. It just takes a while is all. Adding some grenades to the mix to soften them up is recommended. But when facing the first one, the room is very tight and it's actually quite a deadly engagement. I can usually make it through without losing any health, but while recording I didn't have my brain switched on, so I took a burst of fire to the face. They're kind of like an ultra-tanky flamethrower soldier. They'll burp out flames which won't reach very far. But due to the confined spaces you face these guys in, you'll want to keep your distance. There's only 2 fire undead in the entire game and they serve as a sort of mini-boss of sorts. I really like them. Very nasty, very spooky, very cool. Make sure you destroy their bodies when they keel over or they'll pop back up like the shambling undead. When destroyed, they explode with a huge thunderclap, which is really tasty. Summoned by Helga when she tried to nab his magic knife for the Nazi war effort, OLARIC is the first boss of the game. He's a big fat blobby spectral black mass of tormented faces who'll bumble around his arena calling up spooky boys that kinda look like Hexen's Reavers. They'll track the player and make the screen go black, dealing damage and seriously scaring BJ. OLARIC will also put on a surprising turn of speed if you're blinded or if he's injured, and he'll run at you to try and bonk you on the head, which really hurts. When he runs, he'll make the screen shake, which can be disorienting if you don't like that sort of thing, so keep your distance. There are two methods of taking down Big Chungus. You can be a complete coward and cheese him from the safety of the supply area where he can't reach you and his ghost will dissolve if they try and enter. Or you can be a real American hero and fight him in his arena, which seems to be the intended approach. His ghost will dissipate if they hit the columns around the arena, so use them for cover. And lay some hurt on Mr. Blobby with the Sten while tossing out grenades until you wear him down. I like to take down the spawning zombies on the supply area side of the arena first, in order to establish a free movement space, and then engage him, spawning the second lot of zombies as I circle around, destroying the shamblers as I let loose a volley of explosives. As you reduce his health, he'll get slower and slower, dragging his feet along the ground. This indicates that you're on the home stretch. Keep the bullets and grenades coming, and he'll stop in his tracks to give a final scream, shattering into bloody chunks. BJ pockets the magic knife and sets off for an even more terrifying engagement: the Forest Stealth Mission. The first of Death's Head's X-creatures faced in the game, Lopers will no doubt make you swear, and swear, and swear a little bit more. Their primary means of attack is to leap at you, covering a great distance each time, slapping into you, possibly right when you're firing a Panzerfaust rocket. They'll then unleash their secondary attack as they land at your feet, letting loose a giant blast of electricity from their abdominal generators. This attack can reach you even if you're standing high above them, so be careful where you position yourself around them. These Necroborgs are incredibly fast, unpredictable, and will wipe you out before you can blink. The main strat I like to use is to main the FG-42 and to snipe them from afar if I have the luxury of distance, but otherwise a concentrated, uninterrupted burst from the Venom gun will stop them. Usually. After a minute or so. When using the Venom, I like to pre-fire by aiming at a wall before leaping into the fray, otherwise the gun will need to wind up when pointed at the monster and you'll likely get cooked. The first Loper you face in the special weapons facility is naturally weaker, having been attacked by a soldier using a Venom gun. And this can give you a false understanding of their health pool, as when you encounter other ones, they'll take longer to kill. One very good thing about Lopers is that they attack anything except for other Lopers. This means that they'll keep themselves busy frying scientists, soldiers, and even other X-creatures like Proto-Soldiers. All I can say is thank God they're rare. The almost cream of the crop, Proto-Soldiers are super soldiers that got up in a hurry and forgot to put all their armor on. They wield a curious weapon that packages a Venom gun with a Panzerfaust. Yet, they will only use one of these attacks, either rockets or bullets. Most often it's Venom, but always act as if rockets might be heading your way and maintain a position of cover when attacking. With 600 HP, you'd think they'd take a while to go down, but I find that 3 Panzerfaust shots will wipe them out, making their machinery whine before they collapse to the floor. Otherwise, you can main the Venom and just don't stop firing. Like with the Lopers, I like to pre-fire so the weapon doesn't have to wind up when directly engaging the Proto-Soldier, saving precious time and health. The FG-42 is also a godsend if you have ample cover to duck in and out of while firing, making chunks of their armor fly off as you bring them down. At the end of X-Labs, the need to use cover is highlighted in a big way, as you face 2 of these brutes at once. Thankfully, you're in a blast-proof office when you release them and you can pop in and out, shooting off rockets and letting loose a hail of bullets. Death's Head unveils his masterpiece at the end of Mission 5, Part 4, appropriately named Super Soldier. He carries on shamelessly like a proud father when you enter the arena and then boom, you're off. Boss fight number 2. The Super Soldier is an absolute beast. It's got twice the health of a Proto-Soldier, uses both a Tesla gun and a Panzerfaust, and it's smart. If you lay down explosives like grenades or dynamite, it'll change its course and will walk in the opposite direction, the cheeky bugger. His fight basically boils down to use the room partition to avoid his lightning and rockets while sniping him with the FG-42 and Venom. Pretty much try to avoid his line of sight where possible, because he'll instantly attack you. While battling him, cronies will appear periodically on the walkway above to shoot at you. Taking these guys out is super easy, and make sure you do so when the Super Soldier's blocked by the separating wall so you aren't facing 2 fronts at once. Flunky's taken care of, keep nibbling away at Big Boy until he starts to get slower, bits of armor falling off. Eventually he'll collapse like a Proto-Soldier and he'll drop the Tesla gun. Very nice. But that's not the last we'll see of the Super Soldier. They make a return in unhallowed ground and you have to face off against 2 of them at once. One's armed with the Venom and Panzerfaust and the other one uses Venom, Panzerfaust, and Tesla. Nasty. There's plenty of columns and boxes in this area to block oncoming fire and to hide behind, so do that. Hide and shoot. Hide and shoot. Knock their armor off with a volley of Panzerfaust shots, then keep your distance as much as you can and give them the FG-42 treatment. The Venom is, of course, valuable in this fight too, but its accuracy isn't great over distance. Their Tesla guns have a much better reach than our own, with a range of 2,000 instead of 800, despite grabbing our gun from a Super Soldier to begin with. So, the takeaway with these guys is, keep your distance, apply rockets and FG-42, and if the problem persists, apply more FG-42. Very cool boss, very cool enemy. They make an appearance in a cutscene when Blavatsky demotes them to Dark Knights, but that's about it for these big chunky lads. Big, big, big boss time. And in the grand tradition of truly awesome FPS games, he's an absolute joke. With a bit of practice, you can even take him down without losing a single point of health. Case in point, stick around to the end of the video to watch me killing him without getting hurt. It was pretty fun, actually. Right. Heinrich. The entire game hinges on the bad guys raising this hairy son of a bitch to bring about death and destruction, aiding them in winning the war when, yeah, at this point in time, things were starting to go sour for the crowds. The start of the final level sees BJ filling his pockets with a bunch of goodies before stepping out into a ruined arena dotted with undead mofos, including Blavatsky, who's been walked into a dried out old biddy, and the big cheese himself. Personally, I don't even engage the undead servants directly. Rather, I just dive right into fighting Heinrich. Using the Venom, I fire constantly until it overheats. Then I swap to the Tesla to cook him and those around him for a solid 10 seconds. Then swap back to the Venom. Rinse and repeat, and old Heinrich will be dead in no time. Circle strafe, watch out for falling debris, and you're golden. The big lad has a handful of different moves that he'll pull out during combat. He'll stomp the ground to bounce you towards him so he can slash you with his sword. If he does this, leap back as soon as you can to avoid his blade, or lean into the boost to shoot past him. Just keep firing, and he'll be dead before you know it, giving one final meaty bellow before exploding, as is tradition. When he dies, all other creeps die as well, so that's just another reason why I focus on him first and foremost. From afar, four-eyed ball-bag Heinrich Himmler watches in disbelief as yet another twisted Nazi plot gets violently shat on by perennial hero BJ Blazkowicz. He has orders to return to Berlin for tea and crumpets with you-know-who, but deep down he knows that this is not the last he's seen of this man of action. And that's Return to Castle Wolfenstein's enemies. They're many and varied, deadly and funny, and goddamn do they make this game fun. They haven't grown stale over the years. In fact, I now find them even more fiendish and delightful than ever. And I hope after watching this that you can say the same. Thanks for watching. Now stay tuned for a zero damage Heinrich takedown. And here we go. Objective 1 is taking down Blavatsky in her dried out prune form. Just because her ghosty skulls are a really common way of taking damage. But if you outrun them, they'll just expire all by themselves. So electrifying the very threatening Dark Knights, lol, and chucking down a bunch of dynamite. It's good to save some for this fight, actually. Just helps to take the edge off him. Yeah, the Panzerfaust can be extremely inaccurate. And when he does his toddler stomp and debris falls from above, yeah, you really need to get out of there if you're trying to take no damage, because it's light damage, but it's pretty common. There's a lot of it. So just bunny hop as much as you can and get out of there. So firing until the Venom overheats, and then trying to swap to the Tesla, but pressing the wrong button. And then just laying on a bit of the fry. Yeah, more debris. Trying to jump between the chunks. Easier said than done. Laying on some more zap. He's actually getting a bit close there. But he does have the brewer's droop. He's got the limp. He's gone all soft. So he's probably about half health at this stage, I reckon. Probably more so. He's still got some pep though. Look at him run. And definitely FG42 is an awesome interim weapon. I'll rip you limb from limb. Love his voice lines. I wish I knew who the voice actors were. So you're back to the Tesla when his undead warriors start to cluster up a bit too much. And then back to the FG42 for a little bit more of the pow-pow. Huge thanks to Lightning Bolt Forever's video of this very same thing 10 years ago. 10 years ago! That's insane, back in 2015. Awesome series. Go and watch his. It's really cool. It's a long play. Very, very funny, entertaining guy. So yeah, just back to the FG42. Just trying to gain medium to long distance, because the closer you are, the more likely he is to do his toddler stomp. Which, unless you really are fully prepared to, get a boost like that by jumping at just the right time to get the boost, you're probably better off just trying to keep your distance and wussing out just a little bit. So then laying on the Tesla again. And then he's just about there, actually. Just a burst of Venom. And then he'll give a lurch, probably about now. Yeah. And he's done. Cool. He'll give his agonized Voldemort scream. And everyone dies. Cool. What fun. Thanks for watching.